Hey, Mike here. I'm going to cover the Irene and their Pantheons. That is, the Watchers, or fallen angels, and the false gods that they claim to be. A lot of this is going to be from the Book of Enoch, and I've already covered why we should accept the Book of Enoch. So according to the Book of Enoch, the Watchers were celestial beings, often referred to as angels by most people, and initially they were assigned by God to watch over humanity. But they strayed from the design purpose approximately 5,700 years ago, when they became infatuated with human women. This resulted in their descent to Earth and their violation of the prohibition against marriage and procreation between angels and humans. In fact, that forbidding that is specifically found in the Book of Enoch, and Jesus actually quoted that, claiming it was scripture, in a debate with a rabbi. So that's actually a great indication of why we can trust the Book of Enoch as scripture. So these fallen angels imparted forbidden knowledge on their human wives and offspring, encompassing various crafts, magic, weaponry, and other secret skills. While this knowledge may appear beneficial on the surface, it's important to consider the consequences. Without metallurgy and chemistry, which have done a lot of good for the world, World Wars I and II could not have occurred. No mass shooting would ever happen if chemistry and metallurgy had never been. The development of agriculture led to the growth of large cities, which became breeding grounds for violence and crime. Furthermore, the intermingling of supernatural beings and humans contributed to the occurrence of a global flood that devastated the Earth. That was an ecological and geological disaster and a major bottleneck in the human species. There were progeny resulting from the angel-human unions, known as the Nephilim, were described as giants and became notorious for their violence and corruption, kind of like U.S. politicians. The action of the Watchers was seen as a significant transgression against God, leading to the widespread corruption and wickedness that plagued the earth for many years. As a consequence, God imprisoned the Watchers on the earth until the time of judgment, while the Nephilim faced a great deluge as a means of eradicating their presence. So my theory here suggests that the fallen angels assume the roles of gods in various cultures, trying to impersonate God himself, as I will dive into a little deeper in detail. Now, I'm sure that others have reached the same conclusion as well, because it seems pretty clear. And while this likely occurred before the flood, there's no specific record of any of this. However, evidence of this phenomenon did emerge after the flood. One such instance is found in Babylonian culture from 3,800 to 2,500 years ago, and the Egyptian and Canaanite cultures from 3,500 to 2,500 years ago. Notably, these time frames coincide with the emergence of the adherence to God's law under the religion that eventually became Judaism. That's when both of these cultures seem to have ended. This pattern suggests that God's perfect plan triumphed over this imperfect corruption. Similar occurrences can be observed in Egyptian culture from 4,000 to 1,700 years ago, as well as Greek and Roman cultures from 2,800 to also 1,700 years ago. In these cases, the rise of Christianity eventually overthrew these false gods. Furthermore, in Europe, the fallen entities attempted to introduce another false religion after Christianity had already existed, but their efforts were swiftly suppressed. This is known as the Norse culture, and it only lasted from 1900 to 900 years ago. These periods were characterized by the worship of false gods and various pantheons. Occasionally, interbreeding between humans and fallen angels produced giant offspring. and a gradual decrease in these hybrid birth rates occurred due to God's intervention. Regardless of the name that was assigned to them, God had to put a stop to this. They were extremely violent, and they were also cannibalistic, consumed humans, led humans into immorality, and a number of other issues. Now, let's focus on specific entities known as Shemyaza, Araquel, Ramael, Kokabel, Timael, Ramael, Daniel, Ezekiel, Berekwajel, Asael, Amaros, Bethrael, Ananael, Ezekiel, Shemsael, Satrael, Turael, Jumjael, and Sarael. These names likely correspond to their true angelic identities. Keep in mind that in Hebrew, you quite often have names ending in El, which just meant God, and that if your name ends in El, that would signify a connection to God. The meaning of these names can be interpreted based on linguistic analysis, although it's important to acknowledge that these interpretations may vary upon different scholars and different sources. For example, Shemyaza can be translated to "he who has seen the name," or "the name sees." Araquel, not precisely known, sometimes interpreted as "earth of God." Ramel's meaning is uncertain. Kokabel translates to "star of God," or "the star with God." Tamael's name is not really understood. Similarly, the meanings of Ramael, Baraquel, Amaros, Petrael, Ananael, Satrael, Turael, and Jemrael, they're not really identified. Daniel can be interpreted as "God is my judge" or "God is judged," similar to Daniel, while Ezekiel translates to "God will strengthen," just like Ezekiel. It's just a different variant of the pronunciation. It also means God has strengthened. Zakael means God remembers, or God has remembered. Shemshael can be understood as the Son of God, or the Son with God. But I want to be clear that Son as in the giant burning ball of hydrogen and helium that we see in the sky, not Son as in offspring. Lastly, Sarael translates to "the command of God" or "the Prince of God." As we explore these entities, it's crucial to approach their names and interpretation with caution. Linguistic analysis and speculation form the basis of these meanings, so the exact intentions behind these names are not explicitly explained in the available texts. Therefore, alternative interpretations and variations may exist upon different people. It's important to approach these interpretations with caution and recognize that they might not fully capture the intended meanings. Furthermore, it's worth noting that these names might have changed over time, as God has been known to alter the names of individuals and reflect new roles and personas. A famous example is the transformation of Jacob, which meant heel snatcher. He changed Jacob's name to Israel, which signifies "he who struggles with God" or "God strives." Regarding the alternate names or identities that these entities have acquired over the years, it's important to recognize that these stories and some myths surrounding false gods and fallen angels originate from various other cultures and mythologies. Not all of this comes from the Bible. Each culture may have its own interpretations and variations, much like denominations or sects within modern-day religions. Unfortunately, due to the unlimited resources we have available, it's not possible to delve into the details of all 200 angels. Therefore, this is not an exhaustive list and excludes certain continents, such as Americas and Asia, which clearly did have their own interactions with supernatural entities. Asia is known for dragon worship and religions based on spirits, while the Americas are known for religions based on spirits and serpent worship. You could argue serpent and dragon are the same thing, really. This simply provides a glimpse into the impact that these celestial beings had on human affairs and the transmission of this forbidden knowledge. So I'm going to primarily focus on the Middle East and African and some European locations, because this is the area where it started. However, understanding the roles and characteristics of their leaders might provide insights into the extent of their influence and the consequences of their actions as a whole. Additionally, it's important to note that the cultural concepts and stories surrounding these fallen angels and false gods can vary, even within the same religion. Similar to modern-day religious denominations, different interpretations and adaptations have emerged over time. It's within the diversity of these narratives that we can discern common themes and gain insight into the potential impact of these celestial beings on our history. So while our understanding of the fallen angels is limited, exploring their roles and characteristics do offer a glimpse into their influence and the consequences of their actions. By acknowledging the culture and mythological variations, we can better appreciate the significance of their presence and the transmission of this forbidden knowledge throughout different societies. These fallen angels, mentioned along with their names and interpretations, provide a window into the intricate tapestry of human experiences, stories, and the interplay between the divine and mortal realms. This is seen in many other religions also. And it's through careful analysis and interpretation that we can strive to comprehend the broader significance of the implications of these celestial beings in the collective human history. So, let's get to it.